Summer is a difficult season for landscape photography? Could be, but after watching this video, maybe you will get out masterpieces in summer. Hi my friends, nice to see you. It's summertime, how fantastic is this? So, hot sun, clear skies, a nightmare for each landscape photographer obviously. But to be honest, I never understood why there are so many complaints about summer for landscape photography, because I always felt that summer was exactly that season in the year what really helped me to improve my photography. So let's have a look at all the problems and complaints. Sunrises and sunsets are at crazy times. The sun is much too high, so they are missing the micro contrasts to get out really fantastic quality of our photographs. The atmosphere is much too hazy and the colors are boring. So this is also given through the scattering effect, so the light doesn't go to all too long distance through the atmosphere, and the blues are not scattered. We don't have these warm tones what we usually have. And then obviously we feel uninspired. We don't know what to photograph. Wherever we look, it doesn't look fantastic. And all these things are true, but I want to show you how you can turn all these things into your advantage. So let's have a look at all these complaints. Obviously, sunrises and sunsets are at crazy times on the day. For example, in the moment the sun rises at 4:30 in the morning and sets at around 10 o'clock in the evening. These are crazy times, and when you want to take a sunrise shot, you have to get out of your bed really early. Because this means if you want to get a sunrise shot, it isn't enough that you get out of your bed at 4:30. You have to drive anywhere, maybe. You have to hike up anywhere. It depends on how long you take that you are there where you want to take your photograph. And so finally it could be that you have to get out of your bed at 1 o'clock in the night for taking a sunrise shot. And the same is for sunsets. You stay out there for maybe, let's say, 10 o'clock. You have to hike down the mountain, and in many times I'm back at 12 or 1 o'clock in the night. So maybe I get a little bit lack of sleep in summer. But at the other hand, I'm sure most of you will have a job where you go in the morning, you work there during the day and you go home in the evening. And so let's say when you finish your work at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you have 4 to 5 hours to sunset. And this is an amazing advantage, because when you think about winter, for example, I drive to my office when it's dark and I come home when it's dark. There's no possibility to take photographs in winter during the week. But in summer it's different. When you come home from your job, you have the possibility maybe to drive anywhere, to hike up a mountain, to take a fantastic sunset shot. And same is with the sunrises, for example. So when I'm out there for taking a photograph of a sunrise at, let's say, 5 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 or whatever, and I go home then, I will be home exactly at breakfast time. And so I can go into office, do my job as usually. And these things are really massively advantages in summer. And I really love this. And I think many photographers are still in this old school photography. So, you know, I started around 30 years with photography. This was in the 90s, and sometimes I grab a book from that time and read a little bit and want to get into the ideas and thoughts from the photographers back then, because it was another time. And I found something, I found a quote. I found it in a German book, so I have translated it for you, and it is really interesting. The photographer, and it was a really good photographer, he wrote, "There are only a few minutes in the morning and in the evening where landscape photographers can take really strong photos. Best is to wake up early, take the morning photo and sleep over noon. Coffee is our friend as we go to bed late after our sunset photo. The afternoon can be used for location scouting." So this photographer was convinced that there's only A few minutes in the morning and a few minutes in the evening where you can take fantastic photographs. And I believed this for many years. And I don't do it like that today. I use the entire day for photography maybe, depends on the weather conditions obviously, but also in summer there is no limitation for that. But we have to consider it was another time obviously, so they didn't have ultra-wide-angle lenses for example. This definitely had an impact to the photograph today compared with the photography from yesterday or from 30 years in this case. And on the other hand, the gear wasn't waterproof as it is today, so they didn't maybe go out into the rain as much as we do today. And as we didn't have this fantastic community what we have today with YouTube for example, with Instagram, with all these things, so we have the possibility that we make lots of experiments in the one hand, because we also see immediately what we photographed on our display. The photographers of 30 years ago didn't see this, it was really complicated. And today all these things work faster, so it is really an advantage, and I'm absolutely convinced we should see things different today. So we shouldn't only consider only the sunrises and the sunsets for our photography, but anyway, it's a really great idea. I can really recommend to shoot sunrises and sunsets in summer. And let me show you some photographs which I took in summertime. This photograph is from the summer holidays with my family. So right beside this ruin there was a beach. We stayed there the whole day, we swam in the sea, we enjoyed everything there, it looked absolutely fantastic. And what I did is, during the day I observed the landscape there, I walked around the ruin and had a look, and in the evening my wife and my daughter drove already home with their bicycles, prepared for going to a restaurant, and I stayed there with my son and I took this fantastic photograph. My son also shot some photos there. We had really fun and we enjoyed this amazing day at the sea. And just 2 or 3 days after that, I returned to the same spot before sunrise. It was in the blue hour and I got a fantastic photograph of the ruin. It was the right part in this case. It was there where the beach was, where we were swimming the whole day. And I caught this fantastic silhouette of this ruin with the boat at the right, and all the rocks right beside the ruin leads us nicely to this boat. We have these amazing colors everywhere here. The sea was really calm and we have these fantastic lines in the water what leads us into the frame. So it's absolutely fantastic. I really can recommend. It doesn't matter how early or how late sunrises and sunsets are. Yes, they are at crazy times, but you were crazy if you wouldn't take this chance and get out fantastic photographs. So what about the complaint that the sun is too high in summer? And obviously the sun is high in summer, but only around noon. So you know maybe this saying, from 10 to 3 the photographer is free. I think it is not absolutely right. I think it's also an old school thing, thinking about to shoot only in clear sky conditions, but in the praxis you don't do this. It's interesting, so many photographers today think or consider only that we had only sunshine in summer. I'm not sure, it could be that it will be different in other places of the planet. So wherever you are, when you're from anywhere where you have always sunshine, it will be definitely something different. But here in Austria, for example, yes, it could be that we have 2 weeks sunshine only, but this is not always the case. Usually we have rain, we have clouds and so on, we have overcasted days, and there are really great conditions in summer. So when it's overcasted, for example, or when it's raining, you can go out for photographing a waterfall or woodland scenes. So let's have a look, for example, at this waterfall photograph. It was also taken in our summer holidays, and yes, it was during the summer, I think it was in July or something like this, and it was a totally overcasted day, and it always started a little bit to rain, so it wasn't a happy, clear summer day. It was a day with transitions in the weather. And I really love this photograph because, yes, there's a little bit of drama inside, I think. We have everywhere spray there in the air, and it tells the story of the water coming down there. And when I look at this photograph, I really have no idea why it should be so difficult to get a photograph out in summer. And this is another photograph from a totally overcasted day, from a woodland scene. Maybe you have seen the video. I was out for taking photographs in the woods and the light was really fantastic. So in the woods you get really a fantastic light when everything is overcasted. It's like a big softbox shining through the leaves. It's really absolutely amazing. And in summer it often rains obviously, and after the rain we have these fantastic low-level clouds rising up, and this looks really pretty good. So for example, I took this photograph, it was also in summer, it was short after the rain, and all the trees of this forest were wet, and as it was warm there were clouds built, and it raised up and it looked absolutely amazing. So no reason for me to take photographs in summer, to be honest. There's also no other season where there are so many thunderstorms than in summer. And this could look absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, it's a little bit difficult to photograph thunderstorms in the mountains because you have to drive really long distances and you have to be really quick anywhere in any position. And through the mountains this could get really difficult because we have to drive around the mountains and so on. But what I really love is when I know that there is a chance that I get a thunderstorm anywhere, it could be that I hike up a mountain at the other side and maybe I will take a photograph to the other side of the mountain what could look really pretty good. And I want to show you a photograph like that. So in this case I've been up at the mountain, on the opposite mountain. This was at around 3000 meters sea level. And as you can see there was blown air through the mountain from behind. And this air raised up, and through the humidity in the air there were built rain clouds. And this got really spectacular. This happened so fast. And you see this transition here was absolutely amazing. We have sunlight in the front. The clouds in the front are illuminated through the sun, and behind the mountain everything is dark and gray. And this transition is really fantastic for a photograph. All this drama and so on. This is storytelling, and this really adds to your photograph. So I'm really happy with this photo, and the chance to get the transition of the weather like that is much higher in summer than in other seasons. So photographing thunderstorms or maybe transitions to a thunderstorm can really be fantastic. The only thing when you want to try to take a photograph of a thunderstorm, or when you think there could come a thunderstorm, really be careful, this could be dangerous. You really should know what you do. You should really know how a thunderstorm works, where it's dangerous, where not, and so on. And you always need something where you can escape, so maybe a hut or your car, for example, depends on if you're able to go there with car. So always be careful with thunderstorms. So what about the complaint that the atmosphere is too hazy? Yes, it is hazy, but this is fantastic. You can get out really great photographs through haze. And I really love haze in summer photographs. So for example, when I have a look at this photograph, I've been out there on a mountain, and yeah, it was a summer day. There was haze in the air, but through the atmospheric conditions I was able to get this soft layering effect. And this looks so pretty good because we get depth into our photograph. We get depth in a kind of composition where we usually wouldn't get. So we can build up our composition in an absolutely different way. We don't have to work as we usually do. We can think in another way, and this is so fantastic. And this is another example. Maybe you know this photograph. It is one of the photos I took in my last video. So if you haven't seen it, I will link it above. It was really a fantastic day out there. And we had haze. We didn't have all too much haze, just a tiny bit. But it really adds to this composition. We get this feeling of depth into the photograph. And also in other of my photographs or videos you've maybe already seen that I use haze really often to get this layering effect and to get a depth into the photograph. And depth is really an important element of composition because it gives the feeling that you can walk into your photograph. And this looks really fantastic. So yes, there is haze in the air, but fortunately, not unfortunately. So what about the complaint the colors are boring? And definitely, yes, we have the situation that the sun is higher than usually. So this means the distance of the sunlight through the atmosphere is not as long as it usually is. And this has an impact to the color of the light. And this means the longer the way through the atmosphere, the more blues are scattered. And the warmer the tones of the light what casts everywhere in the landscape. And this is also the reason why we have blues everywhere in the shadows, and this gives an amazing color contrast. But in summer we don't have this color contrast. We don't have this scattering effect, not in that way as we have it usually. So what can we do? So obviously we could wait for a sunset in the one hand, or in the other hand we could get out of bed early enough to shoot a sunrise. But also during the day you have advantages. So what about shooting black and white? Or what about trying it with infrared photography? By the way, if you're interested in infrared photography, I bought a new filter for infrared photography, so if you're interested, just comment below. Maybe I will make a video about it, we will see. Another problem with the colors in summer is obviously we have a little bit too much greens and blues, and these are prime colors, and usually it's not the best idea to get all too much prime colors into a photograph, and this has to do with how our eyes work. It has more impact to the visual nerve. And so what I do is I always try to desaturate my photographs. I most do this also in other seasons because I feel there is a little bit too much energy in my photographs when I don't desaturate them. But in summer, when you don't shoot at sunrise or sunset, it's really an important thing to reduce your greens and blues a little bit. This could really add to your photograph. So here, for example, is a photograph I took some weeks ago, also in a video. Maybe you have seen it already. If not, I will link it above. And I took a color version of this photograph. You saw it already in the video maybe. And I decided to make a black and white conversion because of the colors. And in this case, it really adds, because this baby tree here in the front, all these leaves were so saturated of green. And it didn't look all too bad, to be honest, but I think that it turned out much better in black and white. Not sure what you think about it. You can comment below. I'm really interested about your opinion. And what about the complaint that we feel much more uninspired? Yes, that's also the truth, because wherever we look, it doesn't look all too fantastic during the day. But I think it's also a thing for the imagination. We could train our imagination. We could think about how would it look in other conditions. And this is also the reason why I use summer for location scouting. So what I do is I go out many times a week. I grab my wife. Can I grab my wife? No. I go out with my wife for hiking, and it makes really fun. And in most times I don't take my camera with me. I only have my phone with me. Phone cameras are so great meanwhile, and the goal isn't to get out a really great photograph finally. The only goal is it to enjoy the nature, to come into connection, to find new places maybe, to think about how does it look through other conditions, and to go back in autumn maybe or in winter or whatever. So it's really a fantastic time for location scouting. And what we also should consider is landscape photography or success in landscape photography doesn't mean that you go out with your camera and try to get a photograph, and when you go home with the photograph or with the great photograph that you failed. It doesn't work like that. I think much more landscape photography is out of more processes. So this means today I go out for location scouting, tomorrow I go back and have a look how it looks through other conditions and so on. And maybe I come back a half year later and take the final shot then. And this is what I really love in landscape photography. So summer is really a great time for landscape photography. It's good for location scouting. You come into connection and you also can experiment. Try things you never tried before. Experiment with new things. By the way, experiment. If you haven't joined to my experiment, what should make you a better photographer? And so if you haven't seen my video about the experiment, I will link it above. I can really recommend. I got already a little bit of feedback. I showed already some of the photographs of Instagram, what you load up on Instagram, but I think I will wait more time, more weeks, so that you have time to take your photographs and load them up. And I think maybe in a few weeks or even in a few months I will pick out some of these photographs and I will show them in one of my videos. So please keep uploading. I'm really interested about your photographs. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If yes, please give it a thumb up. Share this video with your friends on Facebook, Instagram, wherever. I will really happy about, and I'm absolutely sure also the people you will share the video with will also be really happy about. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. So thank you so much for watching. See you next Saturday. Thank you. Bye.
I'm the landscape you need to see. You are the artist I'll never be. Stay with me and I have no doubt you'll make a painting that makes you proud.